My best friend Lily was head over heels for this guy Ethan. She couldn't stop talking about him, and every time she mentioned his name, her eyes would light up like fireworks. Dreamy eyes, killer smile, the works. He seemed like the perfect guy, almost too good to be true. Lily, bless her soul, was clueless about how to talk to boys. She would get all tongue-tied and nervous, which was adorable but not very effective. Operation Find Out Everything About Him was a go. We were determined to uncover every little detail about Ethan. My mission, should I choose to accept it, I did, was to gather intel on Ethan. I felt like a secret agent on a top-secret mission. His favorite color, his favorite band, the name of his first pet, everything. No detail was too small or insignificant. I was like a squirrel on a mission for nuts, except my nuts were juicy pieces of information about Ethan. I was relentless, leaving no stone unturned. First stop, Ethan's workplace, a charming little bookstore. It was the perfect place to start my investigation. I may have accidentally bumped into him, sending a pile of books tumbling. It was a classic move, but it worked. He laughed, I blushed, it was a whole thing. We exchanged a few words and I managed to learn that he had a great sense of humor. Then, I strategically placed myself at the table next to him at his favorite cafe. It was all about being in the right place at the right time. I pretended to read a book, but really I was all ears, eavesdropping on his conversation. Every word he said was a potential clue. Let me tell you, eavesdropping is an art. You have to be subtle, yet attentive, blending into the background while catching every detail. One must be discreet, yet vigilant. It's a delicate balance, but I was up for the challenge. My detective work revealed that Ethan was a hopeless romantic who loved poetry and volunteered at an animal shelter. He was even more perfect than we thought. Armed with this intel, I rushed back to Lily feeling like a proud warrior returning from a victorious battle. I couldn't wait to share everything I had learned. Little did I know, my little operation was about to turn my life upside down. What started as a fun mission was about to get very real. This was all fun and games until it wasn't. The consequences of my actions were about to unfold in ways I never expected. The plan was simple, or at least it seemed simple on paper. Lily would accidentally bump into Ethan at the animal shelter. Where else? It was the perfect setting, filled with adorable animals and a relaxed atmosphere. She'd impress him with her newfound knowledge of his interests, thanks to me. We had spent hours researching his favorite animals and memorizing fun facts. They'd fall in love, get married, have adorable babies, and live happily ever after. It was a foolproof plan, or so we thought. And I'd be the cool aunt who spoils them rotten, bringing them gifts and taking them on fun adventures. Everything was going according to plan, or so we thought. We had rehearsed every detail, every possible scenario. Lily, dressed in her cutest outfit, complete with a strategically placed bandage, don't ask, was ready for her accidental encounter with Ethan. She looked perfect, and we were confident that nothing could go wrong. I waited outside, my heart pounding like a drum solo. The anticipation was almost unbearable. Suddenly I saw Ethan rushing out, a panicked look on his face. This was not part of the plan. He bumped into me, his eyes wide with urgency. "You have to help me!" he exclaimed, thrusting a velvet box into my hands. "I was supposed to meet someone, but I have to go to the hospital. My grandma!" Before I could process anything, Ethan pointed at the park across the street. "Meet me there at noon tomorrow, and please, tell her everything," he pleaded before disappearing into a taxi. I stood there, stunned, the weight of the velvet box heavy in my hands. What had just happened? Our simple plan had taken a wild turn, and now I was left with a mysterious task. I had to figure out what to do next. Should I tell Lily? Should I go to the park? The questions swirled in my mind as I tried to make sense of the situation. I stood there, stunned, the weight of the velvet box heavy in my hands. What had just happened? Our simple plan had taken a wild turn, and now I was left with a mysterious task. The park was bathed in the golden glow of the midday sun. I waited anxiously, the velvet box feeling heavier by the minute. A million thoughts raced through my mind. Was this some elaborate prank? What was I supposed to tell Lily? Just then, I saw him walking towards me, his face etched with a mixture of relief and apprehension. I confronted him. "Ethan, what is going on?" He looked at me, his eyes filled with a strange mix of hope and desperation, and said, "You're Lily, right?" And that's when it hit me. He thought I was Lily. Before I could utter a single word, he launched into a heartfelt speech about destiny, second chances, and a lifetime of happiness. Then he got down on one knee, opened the velvet box, revealing a sparkling diamond ring, and asked, "Will you marry me?" My mind screamed, "Run away!" but my mouth, betraying all rational thought, whispered, yes. Section 4 Houston, we have a husband. It was done. I, Amelia, was married to Ethan, the guy my best friend was head over heels for. How did I end up in this ridiculous situation? It was like waking up in a bad rom-com, except I was the accidental star, and the plot was written by a confused pigeon. The guilt was eating me alive. Lily deserved to know the truth, but how could I tell her that I, her best friend, had accidentally married her crush? Meanwhile, Ethan was proving to be the perfect husband, sweet, caring, and completely oblivious to the fact that he had married the wrong woman. I found myself falling for him, which only made this whole situation messier. Every stolen kiss, every shared laugh felt like another brick in the wall of lies I was building. The guilt was a heavy cloak I couldn't shrug off. The situation spiraled further out of control with each passing day. It felt like I was living a double life and the lines were blurring. I needed to find a way out, and fast. Section 5. Living a lie, loving the lies. Life as Mrs. Ethan wasn't a complete disaster. In fact, it was surprisingly nice. Ethan was everything Lily had described and more. He made me laugh, he listened to my problems, and he even put up with my terrible cooking. But the guilt lingered, a dark cloud hanging over my newfound happiness. Keeping the truth from Lily was torture. She was my best friend, the sister I never had. She deserved to know, but how could I tell her without breaking her heart? So, I did what any rational person in my situation would do. I avoided her. I dodged her calls, made up excuses to cancel our plans, and generally became a terrible friend. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had set out to help Lily find love, and instead, I had stumbled headfirst into my own love story. A love story built on a foundation of lies and misunderstandings. It was a mess of my own making, and I was the only one who could clean it up. But how? Section 6. The truth will set you free, but also ruin your life. The weight of my secret became unbearable. The guilt gnawed at me, casting a shadow over everything. I knew I couldn't keep up the charade any longer. One rainy afternoon I confessed everything to Lily. I told her about the mistaken identity, the accidental proposal, the marriage. I held nothing back, bracing myself for her anger, her hurt, her betrayal. To my surprise, Lily didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. Then, she did something I never expected. She burst into laughter. "You're kidding, right?" she choked out, tears streaming down her face. When she finally calmed down, she explained that she had met someone else, a charming musician named Noah. "I was going to tell you," she said, wiping away her tears. "But then you went MIA, and I didn't want to burden you with my news." Section 7. Happily ever after-ish. The truth had set us both free, albeit in a way neither of us could have imagined. It was a revelation that turned our world upside down, but in the best possible way. I was free to pursue a relationship with Ethan, knowing that he was the one I wanted, not the one Lily wanted. It was a liberating feeling to finally follow my own heart without any reservations or second thoughts, and Lily was free to explore her feelings for Noah, the musician who made her heart sing. She had always been drawn to his music, and now she had the chance to see if there was more to their connection. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Ethan was initially shocked, then confused, and then to my relief, he laughed. It was a reaction I hadn't expected, but it was exactly what I needed. He laughed so hard that tears streamed down his face. It was a moment of pure joy and relief, a sign that everything was going to be okay. "Only you, Amelia," he said, shaking his head, "could accidentally marry someone." His words were filled with affection and amusement, and I couldn't help but laugh along with him. As for Lily and Noah, well, let's just say that their first date was at a karaoke bar, and it was the stuff of legends. They sang their hearts out, and it was clear to everyone that they were a perfect match. So, there you have it, the story of how I spied on my best friend's crush and accidentally married him. It was a wild ride, full of unexpected twists and turns. It was a comedy of errors, a whirlwind of misunderstandings, and a testament to the fact that sometimes life is stranger than fiction. We laughed, we cried, and we learned a lot about ourselves and each other. And as for happily ever after? Well, let's just say that it's a work in progress, but at least I'm not writing this story from a jail cell. We're taking it one day at a time, and that's more than enough for now.